Give me 1 second, y'all. You don't got to make sure it's public so I can get your comments. I'm on live. Man. Live. Over there. Man. Hold on. You see where the sound at? You can't hear me? All right. Man. Only the Falcons can lose like that. Only the Falcons can lose like that. That was a game I had us getting blown out anyways. But to lose like that, man, come on. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I don't know about you guys, but as soon as Young Ho went there to kick the field goal, I knew that he was about to miss that field goal. And then the announcers, Jason, they were talking about he made the 27 straight field goals. And man, the Falcons know they find multiple ways how to lose a football game. Like we legit out. They did not play that well today. The Chiefs did not play that well. This was the first missed field goal of the season for Young Ho, but it just felt like you just knew that something crazy was about to happen at that point. And that's the sad part about it. Also, I gotta put it like this. The defense up until that final drive played well today. I hated it for AJ Terrell dropping that interception. They slowed down one of the highest scoring offenses in the league. They definitely had a great showing today. Number one, let me get this out the way. Raheem Morris is not going to be our head coach because in 2 of our losses this year, I can vaguely remember he challenged on an unnecessary time. First of all, anybody that watches the game knows if he does not maintain possession of the interception, I don't care if he went to the ground, that's incomplete. The only thing that you did was you gave them opportunities to go ahead and reset, make a play, and they came out of the next play, scored a touchdown. Dumb coaching. That's number one. Number two, you had a couple of moments where the Falcons, unfortunately, this culture has to change. It's not even this to me, it's more than the player thing. It's his coaching staff too. Like it's the culture. Because we're 0-7 in games of 6 points or less. That is actually embarrassing. Because it speaks that the Falcons can hang in all football games, but they're just not finishing the job. The Falcons really did a number on that Chiefs offense today. You held a team to under 20 points and you're coming out here with a loss. I hated to see Young Ho miss that field goal, but it shouldn't have been Young Ho shouldn't have been the person to make the move there, basically. It should have came down to Young Ho kicking the game-winning field goal. Brandon Powell had a dumb fumble as we were driving. I mean, it was dumb moments. You say that you don't agree that that's the best they played. Yes, the defense played well. They competed. The Falcons have competed in a lot of games this season. That's not the problem here. The problem is you're not finishing football games. It's not even so much that they had a bad day or bad moment. They're not finishing games. You held a high-powered Chiefs offense to 17 points. You're supposed to win a football game when you're holding them to 17 points. There's just no excuse at that point. You got to win games like that. Your defense, and I'm not even going to sit here and blame the defense because they played well today because the offense for most of the game was stagnant. So at the end of the day, this is not a loss on the defense. And I'm not putting a specific blame on any side of the ball. It's simply you just lost a game. You just lost another competitive game that you had no business losing. That's the part that sucks about this thing. Devontae Petty said no excuse today. Yeah, it's no excuse today. They really should have won. They should have won this football game as competitive as they played today. But the offense they were stagnant for majority of the game. But in that fourth quarter, they played well. Matt started hitting some solid plays downfield. I think another thing was our offensive line was garbage today. We have to revamp this entire offensive line this offseason because we struggle a lot against certain teams that have have above average to elite defensive tackles. Chris Jones had a day on Chris Lindstrom today. So, it sucked to see that. Trey said, just when you thought we could find them. Oh, yeah, man, listen. The Falcons find so many creative ways to lose a football game. It's not even funny at this point. It's been a microcosm of our season. Today was a microcosm of our season. The Falcons defense had done an outstanding job for a majority of the game. I mean, I can't sit here and say, oh, the defense should have did this different. You gave up 17 points in the whole football game against an offense that's hanging 30 almost every single week. So you can't even really sit here and get mad at the defense and that moment. I will say this. The Falcons do need to get a corner in this draft or free agency. Kendall Sheffield is not a bad corner. He's just not a outside corner. He was getting killed on that outside. I think he's a better slot corner because even on the touchdown of DeMarcus Robinson to win the game for the Chiefs, that ended up being the game with a touchdown, it was on Kendall Sheffield. So I think that's another thing in the case of them. Let's see. I'm just catching up with some of the comments. Yeah, Coach Kenny said culture change once again. I don't care how good the stats. Yes, the culture has to change because the sad part about this season is the Falcons are 4-11 and you've lost 7 games, 1 score or less. You've lost games where there was no reason for you to be losing the football game. There was no reason for things to happen the way it happened. And then even at a point where it got into the game, even on that last drive, where something should have changed up, you're getting blitzed up the middle. That offensive line had a horrible day. I got to put that out there. That line had a very, very bad day because a couple of times Matt could even throw the ball. Now, I know there's been one play earlier in the game that a lot of us have been neck and neck. A lot of us have been disagreeing about, which was the play right after the interception where a lot of us felt Matt Ryan took the sack. A lot of folks was like, that's a 2-man route. I get both sides. But at the end of the day, that's the situation we're in all year long. We're always in a situation where it's bad play calling. He's either holding on to the ball too long or the line is just bad. And today, they just started sending all-out blitzes. So at that point, you had lost the game just simply off of that. Let's see, Gerard Slack said bad blocking. It was bad blocking today. The offensive line has, in a lot of our close losses, especially in both New Orleans Saints losses, I can go back to those 2 losses. The line had a very, very bad day. And it showed again today. The rushing attack was a little bit better today. I got to give credit to that. But overall, it's the simple fact that when you should run the ball, you're throwing. When you should throw the ball, you're running. It's no continuity on that offense. And it was even a miracle that we were still in that football game as bad as the offense played. Max got going late in that game. Matt was being back late in that game. Sad part about it is if I know that offensive line is missing Alex Mack, today showed a lot of where Alex Mack was missing because today showed a lot about our offensive line today. Today we really had a bad showing. But let me see. Byrus Parks said it shouldn't have came down to a field goal. Shouldn't have held on to that pass. The sad part about it was Matt barely had time late in that game. They started blitzing him. They started sending all-out blitzes at that point. So at that point, you need to get that ball out faster than you were. Because honestly, I know Calvin Ridley was getting loose on. It was either Breland definitely struggled against Calvin Ridley. I have to put that out there as well. He struggled against Calvin Ridley today in today's game. But you got to start hitting the slants. You got to start short route screens. You weren't when they needed to call, they weren't calling it. And that's just a bad look on how the offensive line is looking week in and week out. Let's see. Kyrie said no check down receivers on all those blitzes. That's what I was saying as well. You're not even going downfield. You take the underneath route. Start taking some underneath. But the Falcons don't do enough of that. That goes back to play calling and Cutter and staff. We don't do a lot of moves where we should be getting that ball out fast. If a team is blitzing me, I'm going to take. If a team is blitzing me, I'm going to take. If a team is blitzing me the whole game, I'm gonna start checking down. I'm gonna start calling screens. I'm about to get you out of that. Let's see. Gerard Slack says, after watching all these games, it's not fully Matt Ryan. It's the line not giving him time. That's been the issue for a lot of years. The difference is in previous years, Matt could still make plays despite the bad offensive line. At this point in his career, he's done it so much that you can't keep screaming, oh, you should go out there and win the game. You can't when you don't have time. He's not a mobile quarterback. He's not going to be able to get out the pocket if you're blitzing on both sides. Because even in that play on second down was absolutely impressive, where he throws the ball forward because Matt Gano, who was playing left tackle today, absolutely got bull rushed. But I'm not sure which defensive end that was for the Chiefs, but he got bull rushed on that play. And fortunately, Matt Ryan didn't fumble the ball because most would have fumbled the ball in that situation. Kyrie said that play calling was atrocious. Yes, it was atrocious today. It's been atrocious all season long. And it speaks to the fact of how that the offense does have talent on it because we've been in games all year long. The sad part about it is we're 4-11 in 7 football games. We've been in you're looking at 7 games where you lost within 6 points. That's just showing that the culture has to change. It's showing that you're not making the plays to win the game. You're not coming in clutch. Because at the end of the day, you're not playing Jets, Jaguars, and Bengals bad, even though they've been winning a couple games down the stretch. But for a lot of times this year, they've been getting blown out. You haven't really been blown out this year. It was okay. It was Frank Clark. I thought it was Frank Clark. I didn't want to announce his name without knowing for certain. But they started getting pressure up that middle, and when you are getting pressure up that middle, it's nothing you can really do. At that point, Matt Ryan has a short time window. Like you have maybe 2 seconds to get that ball out. Byrus Parks said we cannot continue to have Matt Ryan lead the team with a new coach and GM culture change. This is a tricky conversation because it ain't fully Matt Ryan. I was going record and say it's not fully Matt Ryan, but at the end of the day, we do need a whole culture change. I don't think that with the new coach of GM, you got to do what you got to do to build them lines up, because if you don't, Matt Ryan's going to be out the league even sooner, because at this point in his career, you got the 2 main things is you got to get an offense, some line help, and you got to get a running back in here. You got to get a running game in here, because at the end of the day, if I'm a defensive coordinator and I just see you calling pass play, Matt was very efficient today. But the thing about it is there was a lot of times where throws got missed, plays got stopped because the Falcons couldn't get the ball. There wasn't enough time to block. I haven't got a chance to look at the stat line. Let me give me 1 second. Let me look at the stat line so I can see exactly what the sack numbers were. I just want to have that number by me so I can make the point I was trying to make. Give me 1 second. Bear with me, trying to get the stat line up right by me so I can be able to roll off the stats. Okay, team stats. Matt got sacked 4 times today. He got sacked 4 times for 23 yards. We had 7 penalties on offense. We had a couple of Matt Hennessy, the center that was replacing Alex Mack today, had 3 very, very costly penalties in this game. And, you can't win games like that, because the reality is and another thing that I just want to point out, the Falcons actually had the ball longer than the Chiefs did today. That speaks volumes about how bad this offensive line is. The Falcons had the ball longer than the Chiefs today, and you walked away with a 3-point loss. We've had multiple opportunities in that game because the Falcons actually did a really good job against Patrick Mahomes today. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. So to pull out a win like that was incredible on Patrick Mahomes' part. But you gotta make the play. You cannot sit here and win a game when your line is getting completely bull rushed. Let's see, Gerard said if they had a line and blocking that Matt plays better than need a coach change, but don't change anything if you're not going to feel the risk issue. That has been a problem. I'm gonna put that back up there. I just want everybody to be able to read what he said. But the reality is this, and I know Gerard, you're not even a Falcon fan. If non-Falcon fans can see this, and your own front office can't see this, that's a problem. Because the reality is, the Falcons have had offensive line issues for about 3 years. And when you don't have an offensive coordinator that has an idea what his scheme is going to be, it's really hard to make plays, really hard to make moves when you do not know what you're going to have stepping onto that field. So that's my biggest problem that I have with this football team. And it's in I don't know if he's on here right now. Me and one of the guys on here named Julian, Robs, I'm sure a lot of you may know him. We've been talking about for a long time that, Matt Ryan did this for so many years where you had to deal with a makeshift or average offensive line, below average rushing attack. It gets to a point where if you can get after Matt Ryan, we're losing football games. This season, the Falcons have lost 7 games within 6 points. So they're in the game, but you're not making the moves. You're not making the plays. And you gotta have a person that comes in here to have a scout, have a eye for talent on the offensive line. Because Dan Quinn didn't really have didn't have an eye for offensive talent. Well, I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back to TD. Under Mike Smith, we came in, we actually had some potential guys. The Falcons truly haven't had a set offensive line since 2000. I want to say, I should give 16 say that they had a really good offensive line. But 2010 was probably our best offensive line. We haven't had a good line since. But that's the bad problem with the Falcons at this point. You don't really know where to go with this organization at this point, but you got to have a guy in here that actually knows what he's doing. Can't just put nobody in there and say, let's go get somebody like I'm just throwing out some names that's in college right now, like a Alex Leatherwood, like a Penny Sewell from Oregon, and think that they're going to be able to come in. If they don't fit the scheme, it's not going to work. Because even with Jake Matthews from A&M, he's been here 6 years. You went and got the best guy available, but do he really fit this team at this point? You need guys that fits your scheme. If you don't know what your scheme is, you can go get the best player available, and he still will not work. That's the problem with the Falcons at this point. Let me catch up with some of these comments. Chris, what's going on, bro? He said you need to be on TV, man. I appreciate that, man. I'm just out here trying to make something happen with this. Quentin said the whole draft you can go to the offensive line, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like I just mentioned just a few seconds ago, I don't have an issue getting offensive line help, but I gotta have a guy here that knows the talent, that knows we gotta know what our scheme is gonna be first, because we go out here, this is the problem. I want to say that we were a little bit better at times this year in the passing attack as far as the offensive line. The rushing attack has been bad for years. And if you don't really have a solid rushing attack, you don't have a solid idea of what you want to do, then that's the problem. Let's see. Gerard said that's what made it. Yes, it has made it easy to beat the Falcons the last 3 years, because if you don't have a lot of talent on you, if you know that, hey, all I gotta do is put pressure on the Falcons at this point. All I gotta do is put that pressure on Matt Ryan. I can keep Matt Ryan. The issue is not so much, and this is the one thing that I disagree with a lot of our fans. You can go get you can go give me Deshaun Watson right now, and Deshaun Watson struggles with this same offensive line. If you don't have time to block, if you don't have time to look down that field or even make a play, and you don't have an offensive coordinator that has the mindset of let's get the ball out fast, you're not going to get after me. Let me just throw out an example. I hate to keep bringing this team up because I hate this team with a passion. The New Orleans Saints have had injuries on the offensive line all year long. Kamara's been getting off for them, but they also get that ball out fast. If you don't have a coordinator that knows to get the ball out fast, you're going to lose football games. That's the problem. You're going to lose more football games because you don't know when to get the ball out. You don't know when to make the next play. It's a problem all the way around the board. Let's see. Quentin Butler said we scored a lot of points on teams during the 2016 run. Do we still need to go to the Super? Do we still go to the Super Bowl with this 2020 line? We don't. This offensive line in 2020 does not take this team to the Super Bowl. But I also feel that if you don't have a good offensive mind, you also lose games like that too. That was another thing that was so unique about 4 years ago, because Kyle Shanahan actually had a idea of what he wanted. He had his guys. He had his guys. That's the reality of the situation. He had his guys. They knew what to do. He knew what fit what. Dirk Cutter doesn't really have a clue. You have a up and coming good receiver in Russell Gage. You have Calvin Ridley. Even with Julio being out, Calvin Ridley's been having an outstanding season. Side note, he should be in the Pro Bowl, but we'll leave that for a conversation for another day. But the thing is, you actually have a pretty good tight end in Hayden Hurst. If you don't utilize your guys like you should, you don't get there, you don't let them benefit off their streak, you're going to lose football games. It doesn't matter if you got the most talent around. To be honest with you, if you're putting the skill-wise healthy, if you're putting 2016 to 2020 up, they're almost neck and neck as far as skill position talent. But the difference is the 2016 line was good. They ran block. They pass block. 2020 is play calling is bad. You got a lot of things that is a problem at this point. You know, that's the biggest issue with with this team right here. We don't have an identity on offense. Like at this point, we're staying in games because we're just that talented. Let's see. Gerard Slack said Casey's gonna have a free head coach. That'd be great for y'all. He's a quarterback coach too. We need an offensive mind, because we went and got Quinn and Mike Smith. No disrespect to those guys, because Mike Smith was actually not a bad coach. But when you don't have an eye for talent and you don't really know what you want, it becomes a problem. And that's the same thing for Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn was not a horrible head coach, but the reality was the Falcons was trying to emulate another scheme, which was the Seattle defense. So, you know, when you have an issue with having, like, when you're trying to beat Seattle East, let's go back and look at Seattle. Seattle had one of the greatest secondaries in NFL history. The Falcons didn't have that. You had good guys, but you didn't have great guys. So once your defense, because, you know, in 16 and 17, we were hard to deal with. But I'm going to tell you, one of the biggest mistakes the Falcons made happened 3 years ago. When we sat there and lost out on, when we lost to Philadelphia in the postseason, the year they went and won the Super Bowl, the Falcons was getting bullied up front. That's when the line should have started getting addressed then on both sides of the ball. So the reality was, once the tape was out on the Falcons, that's why we had 3 straight losing seasons. If you go back and look at the issues that we had in them Philadelphia losses in that postseason, in that week 1 game in 2018, those were the issues that started to trickle down in all 3 of our losing seasons. Just think, we lost a lot of close games in the last 3 years. We lost 4 close games in 2018 with injuries. And it's the same thing in 2020. We lost 7. That's coaching. That's the culture change. You got to get guys in here that know how to close football games out. That's the difference between a 4-11 football team and a potential wild card team. It will be a whole different season at this point. That's the sad part about looking at this 2020 Falcon football team. It's this fact of, you are what your record are. You are 4-11. Not going to sit here and say, oh my God, we should be 11-4. I'm not going to say that. Because even if you make the right plays, I don't know if you still win all those games. But when you blow 5 double-digit leads, when you have 2 other games that you sat here and gave up at the buzzer, that's a problem. That's the issue that goes into coaching. It goes into you don't know how to close a football game out. It's multiple things. Let's see. One Jones is the guy still on the Saints. Oh man, who I like, man. The thing is, Julio has to stay healthy at this point in his career. I think Julio's going to have to change his play style to be able to have a long career in the NFL. Julio's going to be a Hall of Fame receiver, but Julio cannot play that same physical style that he's been playing because a guy like him, as physical as he is, as hard working as a receiver as Julio is, he stays injured too much for his style play. You don't want to go into 2021 and have the same issue because you don't want him week 2 limping. And we've been having a lot of problems like that. Also, just continue what he said. Gerard Slack also said, plus y'all let Kyle leave. Kyle was here, y'all would be better. If we had an offensive mind here, the biggest thing, and I don't know if you saw my previous shows or not, I've discussed this before. One of our biggest problems was, yes, you let Kyle Shanahan go, but you also had a lot of guys who also walked out. He also walked out on, you got Matt LaFleur from Green Bay. Matt LaFleur was our quarterback coach in 2016. We didn't even retain him. No, I'm wrong. Not San Fran. He went to, just try to think. Give me a second, y'all. He went to the Rams. He was their offensive coordinator. You saw Jared Goff and that group take off. They ended up going to the Super Bowl 2 years later. Then you saw Shanahan take the 49ers to the Super Bowl. And now you're seeing a Green Bay Packer team who is one of the elite offenses in the league under Matt LaFleur. That's all that same system that was here in 2016. We were ahead of our time 4 years ago with that scheme, but you never did anything to keep it together. And even with Sark, looking back at it now, I feel bad for Sarkisian because he was a college offensive coordinator who had to come in and take over a scheme where you just put the 7th highest scoring offense in NFL history out on the field. So I'm coming in and I'm expecting you to get Sanu going, get Gabriel going, get Julio going, get all these guys that put up 33 points per game. And I'm expecting you to come and do the same thing. It doesn't work like that. If you don't have any experience, it's not going to work like that. And then when you had guys in-house that could have took the same thing over, it doesn't work like that. But yeah, this is that I hated to see the Falcons lose a game like that. They actually competed well. I will credit them on that. They did compete well today. I gotta also say that as much as sad as it is, I think Raheem Morris would have probably been in the conversation to become the next head coach of this team past 2020. But when you lose a lot of close games, and you have moments where you don't have these guys prepared in the second half or anything like that, then that becomes a problem that goes on deeper down the road. Let's see, Gerard says, I feel bad for Matt because he's the only receiver to hate. Sadly, man, that's been the problem. That's a conversation for another. That's a conversation as well. Falcon fans have always just criticized Matt. Now, I will criticize Matt on certain things that I do not care for that he does. But at the end of the day, it's not just a Matt Ryan issue. To me, he has had his moments this year where Matt has not made them smartest moves, the smartest decisions. But overall, when you have a quarterback who has had to deal with these kind of circumstances for almost his whole career, then it becomes a problem. But yeah, the Falcons, the Chiefs definitely that game right there will probably wake them up because hey, you had to play that's another close game they had to play. And today they actually did a good job on Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes did what Mahomes does best. That's why he's the best quarterback in the league at this point. He did what he had to do to win the football game. I just want to kind of run over a few stats today to just to look back at certain stats on both sides. Let me see the Chiefs stats. Let me go to their stats. They held Tyreek Hill on 100 yards. Pretty good day. You held Tyreek Hill on 100 yards. Travis Kelce got going. That was one of the biggest things for him today. You actually held that rushing attack in check for the most part. I mean, this team actually they did enough. They did enough to win on defense again, and that's what sucks. Is because they're not that talented, but they have done enough to win football games this season. And that is true. It was a really good day for the defense. And I feel bad for them because I mean, I hope fans are not out here screaming the defense, man. The defense blew the game again. Now the defense really hung in there for as much as they could. But the offense had some very, very dismal moments in the game. You actually got an interception on Patrick Mahomes and got in deep in their territory, and you had a 3-and-out. Then you were moving the ball in the fourth quarter, and you had that horrible fumble by Brandon Powell, which I do not understand still what he was doing on that play. Go down. You may get away with a field goal on that possession, and maybe Young Ho Koo was kicking the game winning field goal at that point. Gerard Slack said Young Ho blew it. Yeah, and it's sad because he's actually been efficient all year long, and that was one of the few times that he's missed a field goal this year. And again, it shouldn't have came down to him having to kick a field goal. Once again, it kind of sucks, man. But Falcons lost a close game. I will get a chance to get on here at some other point today, maybe maybe sometime this week. Anybody ever want to jump on this podcast with me and talk Falcons, talk NFL? Because I'm gonna get to talking about the NFL playoff picture soon. Don't be afraid to hit me up about it. I definitely would love to have you on. I enjoy doing this. I appreciate everyone that tunes in every single week. But until the next time, y'all have a good one. Again, the Falcons lost a close one, 17-14. They got one more game left in the season, which is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. Talk to y'all later.